The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. What if I told you that almost all the stress, overthinking, misunderstandings, and emotional chaos in your life comes down to just a few silent agreements you've made without even knowing it? Sounds dramatic, right? But stay with me. Every day, without realizing it, we make hundreds of little agreements. Not contracts we sign, but beliefs we silently accept about who we are, how the world works, what people expect from us, and how we're supposed to behave. Some of these agreements are helpful, but many of them, they quietly drain our energy, sabotage our happiness, and keep us stuck in loops of guilt, fear, or anxiety. Here's the kicker. Most of these beliefs didn't even come from you. They were passed down by parents, teachers, society, culture. Somewhere along the way, you started agreeing to things like, I'm not good enough, I need to please others to be loved, or if I fail, I'm a failure. And once those agreements lock in, we start living by them, day in, day out, without question. But what if you could break those toxic agreements? What if you could choose better ones? That's the heart of The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Ruiz reveals four simple but life-changing principles you can adopt to start replacing self-limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, great, another self-help book promising to fix my life. I hear you. There's a lot of fluff out there. But The Four Agreements is different. It's not about hustling harder or forcing positivity. It's about subtracting the noise, letting go of old conditioning, and finally seeing yourself and others through a lens of truth. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in negative thought patterns, constantly second-guessing yourself, or repeating the same conflicts over and over, this book might just hold the key. In this free audiobook, I'm walking you through each of the four agreements with real-life examples, breakdowns, and a few personal stories. I'll show you how I've been applying these ideas in my own life, where I've stumbled, where it helped, and how it might just help you too. You can listen to this while multitasking, and I've broken it into easy chapters with timestamps in the description. There are also rapid-fire recaps throughout, so you can stay on track even if your mind wanders. And if you're wondering whether the full book is worth it, think of this as your free preview. There's a link in the description if you want to grab it on Amazon. So before we dive in, subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're watching this from. I love hearing from listeners around the world. Chapter 1. Be impeccable with your word. Let's kick things off with the first and arguably the most foundational agreement. Be impeccable with your word. At first glance, this might seem straightforward. You might be thinking, I already know how to talk. What's the big deal? But trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Think about this. Words are like seeds. Every time you speak, you're planting something in the world. Are you planting flowers or weeds? Being impeccable with your word means using your language to build, not break, to inspire, not harm. And no, this doesn't just apply to how you talk to others. It's about how you talk to yourself, too. Let's break it down. Words aren't just sounds. They carry energy. They create meaning. In fact, studies show that the average person speaks around 16,000 words per day. That's a lot of opportunities to uplift or tear down. For example, a single sentence from a teacher can shape a student's life in profound ways. When a teacher tells a young student, "You're so talented, you have a bright future ahead," that simple affirmation can ignite a lasting sense of confidence and drive. On the other hand, if a teacher says, "You'll never amount to anything," that negative remark can plant a seed of doubt that may influence the student's self-image and potential for years to come. Words, especially from authority figures, can leave powerful, lasting imprints. Words are powerful, period. What you say can echo in someone's mind, long after the moment has passed. So why not make sure those echoes are positive? Being mindful of your words starts with a few simple but powerful steps. First, pause before you speak. That old saying, "Think before you speak," exists for a reason. A quick mental check, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Can help you avoid unnecessary conflict or regret. Second, make a conscious effort to stop gossiping. While it might seem harmless in the moment, gossip breeds negativity and erodes trust. Instead, steer conversations towards something positive or constructive. Lastly, pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Negative self-talk like, "I'm so stupid," or "I can't do this," might seem minor, but over time, those words shape your self-image. Swap them out for affirmations like, "I'm capable," or "I'm doing my best." The way you speak, to others and to yourself, has the power to transform your mindset and relationships. Let me share a quick story about my friend Sarah. Sarah had a boss who was, let's just say, less than encouraging. Every day, he would criticize her work, often in front of her colleagues. Over time, Sarah started believing she wasn't good at her job. She stopped taking initiative and felt miserable. One day, a new manager took over. This manager did something radical. He started praising Sarah's strengths. He told her, "You have a great eye for detail. Your work is outstanding." Within weeks, Sarah's confidence soared. She started contributing more and even got promoted. The moral of the story? Words have the power to tear down or lift up, and the choice is always ours. Even with the best intentions, we all slip up from time to time, especially when it comes to how we communicate. One common pitfall is speaking out of anger. When emotions run high, it's easy to say things we don't mean. In those moments, taking a deep breath or stepping away can make all the difference. Another trap is overpromising. Saying, "I'll definitely do that," without being sure you can follow through might seem harmless, but it's always better to be honest and manage expectations than to risk breaking your word. And then there's negative humor. While jokes and sarcasm can be fun, they can also sting more than we realize. It's important to be mindful of how our words land, especially when humor crosses into mean-spirited territory. Staying aware of these pitfalls helps us communicate with more care and integrity. Committing to being impeccable with your word can have a powerful ripple effect throughout your life. For one, it strengthens your relationships. People naturally trust and respect those who speak with honesty and integrity. It also boosts your self-respect, as there's a deep sense of alignment and confidence that comes from knowing your words reflect your values. On top of that, clear and positive communication leads to fewer misunderstandings and conflicts, resulting in a life with less drama and more peace. Being impeccable with your word isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing words that uplift, inspire, and reflect the best version of yourself. Remember, this isn't something you master overnight. It's a practice, one you get better at with time. Let us know in the comments. What's one way you'll start being more impeccable with your word today? Whether it's speaking more kindly to yourself, avoiding gossip, or pausing before you speak, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Chapter 2. Don't take anything personally. Let's move on to the second agreement. Don't take anything personally. Now, this one can be a tough pill to swallow. After all, we're human, and it's natural to feel affected by what others say or do. But here's the big idea. Nothing others do is because of you. It's a reflection of their own reality, their own experiences, and their own beliefs. Let's unpack that a bit. Humans are wired for connection, which is great, but it also means we sometimes interpret others' words or actions as a reflection of our worth. Someone rolls their eyes and we think, "What did I do wrong?" Or someone doesn't text back, and we're convinced we've upset them. Sound familiar? Here's a fun and slightly embarrassing story. Once a friend canceled plans on me last minute. My immediate thought? She must be mad at me. I spent the entire day overanalyzing every conversation we'd had that week. Turns out, she wasn't mad at all. She just had a headache. All that stress for nothing. Taking things personally is exhausting, isn't it? Here's the thing. People's actions are almost always about them, not you. Think about the last time you snapped at someone. Were you really mad at them? Or were you stressed, tired, or dealing with something unrelated? Exactly. When someone criticizes you or behaves rudely, it's often a projection of their own fears, insecurities, or frustrations. Let's dive into some practical ways to stop taking things personally. First, when you feel hurt or offended, pause and ask yourself, is this really about me? More often than not, it isn't. Next, learn to separate fact from story. For example, if your boss gives blunt feedback, the fact is they commented on your work. But the story you might tell yourself, like, they think I'm terrible, is just a narrative you've created. Practicing empathy also helps. Try to understand what the other person might be going through. Maybe they're stressed or having a rough day. Shifting the focus from yourself to their perspective can make a big difference. Lastly, strengthen your inner dialogue. Remind yourself, I'm not responsible for how others feel or act, only for how I respond. This mindset can truly shift how you experience difficult interactions. Here's an interesting fact. Research shows that people who take things personally are more likely to experience stress and anxiety. Why? Because they're constantly internalizing external events. On the flip side, practicing emotional detachment can improve mental health and resilience. When you stop taking things personally, life becomes noticeably smoother and more peaceful. One of the biggest benefits is peace of mind. You no longer waste energy stressing over what others think. It also leads to stronger relationships, as you become less reactive and more empathetic in your interactions. Most importantly, your confidence grows because your self-worth is no longer dependent on other people's opinions. You become more grounded, resilient, and free to be yourself. Every time someone cuts you off in traffic or gives you a dirty look, just imagine them shouting, "It's not about you." It's a silly mental trick, but it works. You'll start laughing instead of stressing. Remember, not taking things personally doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop letting their actions control your emotions. It's about recognizing that everyone is living their own story, and you're just a character in theirs. So the next time someone says or does something that stings, take a deep breath and remind yourself, it's not about you. Let's quickly revisit the first two agreements from the 4 agreements. The first, be impeccable with your word, reminds us that words hold immense power. They can build trust, uplift others, and shape how we see ourselves. Being impeccable means speaking with honesty, kindness, and integrity, both to others and yourself. Avoid gossip, exaggeration, and harsh self-talk. The second, don't take anything personally, encourages emotional freedom. People's actions are usually a reflection of their own struggles, not a judgment of you. When you stop internalizing others' behavior, you gain peace, confidence, and clarity. Together, these 2 principles can transform your communication and mindset. Chapter 3. Don't make assumptions. Now let's talk about the 3rd agreement. Don't make assumptions. This might be the sneakiest of all the agreements because we all do it without even realizing it. We assume we know what others are thinking. We assume we know their intentions. And worst of all, we assume they know what we're thinking. Spoiler alert, they don't. Assumptions happen because our brains are wired to fill in the blanks. We don't like uncertainty, so when something is unclear, our minds quickly create a story to make sense of it. For instance, if someone doesn't reply to your text for hours, you might assume they're upset with you. If a coworker forgets to say hello, you might think they don't like you. If your partner sighs after dinner, you might take it as a sign they're unhappy with you. Sound familiar? These quick judgments are simply our brain's way of trying to connect the dots, but more often than not, they're based on guesswork rather than reality. Assumptions lead to misunderstandings, unnecessary drama, and hurt feelings. They're like a bad game of telephone. What starts as one thing morphs into something entirely different. Let me share a quick story. I once had a friend cancel dinner plans last minute. She simply said, "I can't make it tonight." My brain immediately went into overdrive. Did I do something wrong? Does she not want to spend time with me anymore? As it turned out, she had a last-minute work deadline. No drama, no hidden meaning, just a simple explanation I could have discovered if I'd asked. Breaking the habit of making assumptions takes self-awareness and consistent effort, but it's absolutely within reach, and the benefits are well worth it. One of the most powerful ways to start is by asking questions instead of jumping to conclusions. For instance, if someone seems distant or doesn't respond to your message, instead of assuming they're upset with you, try asking, "Hey, is everything okay?" This small shift from assumption to curiosity opens the door to honest communication and prevents unnecessary stress or misunderstandings. Another important strategy is clarifying expectations. A lot of assumptions stem from things left unsaid. Imagine you're planning a party and assume your partner knows you want help setting up. When they don't offer, you feel hurt or frustrated, but the reality is, they might not have known you needed anything. By clearly stating your needs and expectations, you eliminate the guesswork and reduce the chance of resentment or miscommunication. It's also essential to not take things personally, as outlined in the second agreement of the 4 agreements. When someone behaves in a way that feels cold or dismissive, it's easy to internalize it. But more often than not, their actions have nothing to do with you. Maybe they're stressed, distracted, or dealing with their own issues. Reminding yourself of this truth can help you stay grounded and avoid emotional overreactions. Finally, practice empathy. Try to see situations from the other person's perspective. Are they overwhelmed, tired, or going through something difficult? Giving others the benefit of the doubt fosters compassion and helps you respond with understanding rather than assumption. When you approach life with curiosity, clarity, and empathy, you not only improve your relationships, you also create more peace within yourself. Let's talk about my neighbor, Jake. Jake used to nod politely whenever we passed each other, but never said much. I assumed he was unfriendly, maybe even rude. For months, I avoided small talk with him because I thought he wasn't interested. One day, I decided to wave and say, "Hi, how's it going?" Guess what? Jake lit up and started chatting about his day. Turns out, he's just shy and wasn't sure if I wanted to talk. That simple wave turned a cold relationship into a friendly one. Moral of the story? Assumptions block opportunities for connection. Here's an interesting fact. According to psychological research, our assumptions are often based on past experiences rather than the present moment. In other words, if someone once ignored you in the past, your brain might assume everyone who doesn't text back is ignoring you too. Recognizing these patterns can help you break free from them. Letting go of assumptions can be one of the most freeing habits you develop, and the positive impact it has on your life is significant. First and foremost, your mind becomes a more peaceful place. Instead of spiraling into overthinking or inventing worst-case scenarios, you begin to accept situations as they are, not as your fears or insecurities interpret them. This means less stress, fewer misunderstandings, and a lot less unnecessary drama. You'll also notice a deeper sense of connection with the people around you. When you stop assuming what others are thinking or feeling and instead communicate openly, Your relationships become more honest, respectful, and trusting. You give others the chance to be understood, and in return, you're more likely to feel heard and supported too. Most importantly, letting go of assumptions puts you back in the driver's seat emotionally. Rather than reacting based on imagined stories, you learn to respond based on facts and direct communication. This shift allows you to feel more grounded and empowered, knowing that your thoughts and emotions aren't being dictated by false narratives. In short, the less you assume, the more peace, clarity, and confidence you invite into your life. Imagine this. You see your friend across the room at a party, and they don't wave back. Your assumption, they're ignoring me. Reality, they didn't have their glasses on and thought you were a lamp. See? Not everything is about you. The key to breaking free from assumptions is simple. Communicate, clarify, and stay curious. Life is too short to waste energy on imaginary problems. The next time you find yourself making an assumption, pause and ask yourself, do I really know this to be true? More often than not, the answer will surprise you. Let us know in the comments. What's one assumption you've made recently, and how could you have handled it differently? We'd love to hear your stories. Chapter 4. Always do your best. And now, let's dive into the fourth and final agreement. Always do your best. At first glance, this might sound like advice you've heard before, but don't be fooled by its simplicity. This agreement is a game changer when you truly understand it. It's not about being perfect or pushing yourself to exhaustion trying to meet impossible standards. Doing your best means showing up with the effort and presence you're capable of in that specific moment, taking into account your energy, emotions, and circumstances. Some days, your best might look like being productive, hitting goals, and checking off everything on your to-do list. Other days, it might simply mean getting out of bed, taking a shower, or making it through the day without giving up. Both are valid. Your best isn't fixed. It changes, and that's perfectly okay. The key is to recognize that your best will vary, and that's perfectly normal. What matters is showing up and giving it your all, whatever all looks like in that moment. Doing your best matters because it shifts your mindset from pressure and perfectionism to presence and peace. First, it frees you from regret. When you know you gave something your honest effort, there's no need to dwell on what-ifs or beat yourself up over what you could have done differently. You can move forward with a clear conscience. Second, it builds self-respect. Each time you show up and give your best, you reinforce trust in yourself and take pride in your effort, regardless of the outcome. Lastly, it reduces stress. Perfectionism drains energy and creates anxiety, but doing your best invites grace, progress, and inner calm. Putting the agreement, always do your best, into practice is about showing up with intention and self-awareness each day. It starts with setting realistic expectations. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do well today? This helps you stay grounded in what's achievable instead of getting lost in overwhelming to-do lists. Prioritizing self-care is just as essential. You can't give your best when you're physically or emotionally drained, so make time for rest, nourishment, and breaks. Also, remember to celebrate the small wins. Progress often comes in tiny steps, and recognizing those moments builds momentum and confidence. And when things don't go as planned, don't be hard on yourself. Mistakes are part of the process. Instead of dwelling on failure, shift your focus to learning. Ask, what can I take away from this? Doing your best doesn't mean being perfect. It means showing up, giving what you can, and growing through the experience. Let me share a quick story about my friend Anna. Anna's a perfectionist who always felt like she wasn't doing enough. One day, she decided to apply this agreement and focus on simply doing her best. At work, instead of obsessing over every tiny detail, she did her best within the time she had. At home, She stopped trying to cook elaborate meals every night and settled for simple, healthy dishes. The result? She felt more relaxed, more accomplished, and, ironically, got better results in every area of her life. Even with the best intentions, it's easy to fall into common traps when trying to do your best. One major pitfall is comparing yourself to others. Your best is personal and unique to your circumstances, so don't measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel. Another trap is overworking yourself. Doing your best doesn't mean pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion. It's about showing up with intention, not burning out. Finally, be mindful of being too hard on yourself. If things don't go as planned, don't dwell on the setback. Instead, acknowledge the effort you put in, learn from the experience, and keep moving forward. Committing to the practice of doing your best brings powerful benefits into your life. First, it brings greater peace of mind. You stop fixating on outcomes and start focusing on the effort you put in, which reduces stress and overthinking. It also improves your relationships, as people begin to notice and appreciate your genuine effort, consistency, and sincerity. Most importantly, it fuels personal growth. By showing up fully and giving your best in every situation, you create opportunities to learn, improve, and evolve. Over time, this commitment helps you become a stronger, more confident, and more authentic version of yourself. Imagine this. You're trying to bake a cake for a friend. Your perfectionist side wants it to look like a Pinterest masterpiece, but you accidentally burn the edges. Your do your best side says, scrape off the edges, add extra frosting, and call it rustic. See? Best doesn't mean perfect, and your friend will still love the cake. Always doing your best is about showing up, putting in effort, and letting go of perfectionism. It's about recognizing that your best will change from day to day, and that's okay. So give yourself permission to try, to stumble, and to keep going. Let us know in the comments, what's one area of your life where you're ready to start doing your best? We'd love to hear your thoughts. To recap, the 4 Agreements teaches us to be impeccable with our word, not take anything personally, avoid making assumptions, and always do our best. These principles might sound simple, but they're incredibly powerful when put into practice. Remember, transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every small step counts. The more you practice these agreements, the closer you'll get to living a life of freedom and joy. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who could benefit from these insights. And let me know in the comments which agreement you're most excited to try out. See you in the next video.